They never told you this, but your darkness isn't a flaw, it's your buried power. The part of you society tried to kill, not with violence, but with guilt, with shame, with fake smiles and polite masks. Since you were a child, they told you to be good, be kind, be nice. But they never asked what happens to the rage, the jealousy, the lust for power when it gets locked inside. You became your own prison, and here's the truth that shatters illusions. The person who cannot face their shadow will be ruled by it. You'll call yourself good, while sabotaging yourself in silence. You'll play fair, while secretly resenting those who dominate the world. You'll smile at your enemies, while your soul screams for revenge it's too afraid to take. This is the slow death of the unaware. But that's not why you're here. You feel it, don't you? The voice in your chest that whispers, there's more to you, something darker, sharper, hungrier. It's not evil. It's real. And until you master it, you'll never behold as oh today. I will hand you what most will never receive, the forbidden keys to your shadow self. Not to suppress it, not to fear it, but to weaponize it, refine it, command it. Let's begin with the first truth most people will never dare admit. You don't really want to be liked. You want to be respected. And you'll never get respect by being harmless. Somewhere along the way, you were trained to associate strength with cruelty. To believe that the only way to be a good person is to shrink yourself. Make others comfortable. Stay quiet. Be agreeable. But lions don't ask for permission to roar, and empires aren't built on apologies. Shadow secret #1. Your need to be liked is a leash, and the people holding it aren't your friends. Look around. The ones who command attention, power, loyalty. They aren't afraid to offend. They speak with conviction. They draw lines. And people respect them because they stand their ground. So ask yourself, how much of your life is a performance? How many times have you smiled through betrayal, nodded at lies, apologized for simply existing? The truth is, the world bends not to those who beg, but to those who own their presence. That doesn't mean cruelty. It means clarity. It means letting your no be a wall, not a whisper. It means owning your power, even if it makes others uncomfortable. Especially then, because if your presence doesn't shake something in the room, you're still hiding. Now listen closely, because the next truth is colder and sharper. But if you absorb it, it will change your life forever. You think being authentic means always being honest, right? Wrong. Authenticity without control is weakness. Shadow secret #2. Sometimes, the strongest version of you is the mask you wear. That doesn't mean lying. It means choosing your truth like a weapon, not spilling it like a wound. Picture this. A wolf doesn't show its hunger when it's hunting. It stalks. It studies. It moves in silence. You, too, must learn to calculate. Not to deceive, but to protect, to position, to win. Emotional exhibitionism, crying in public, venting to anyone who'll listen, being real 24/7. That's not strength. That's self-exposure. Vulnerability without discernment. The shadow teaches you this. Control your emotions. Don't be ruled by them. Reveal only what you choose. When you choose. Remember the greatest strategists in history. Marcus Aurelius, Machiavelli, Malcolm X. Different men, different paths, but one thing in common. They knew how to wear the right face for the right moment. Even when their souls were at war. If you want to influence, if you want to lead, if you want to dominate your space, you must learn to shape the world's perception of you. Not through manipulation, but through mastery. You can be true to yourself, but make no mistake, the world rewards the version of you that it cannot predict, cannot shake, and cannot ignore. So now the question is, how do you learn to use your darkness without becoming consumed by it? What happens when your power finally wakes up, but your old self tries to cage it again? Good. Because now we're entering the depths most fear to explore. So you've begun to feel it, that tension. The pull between who you were told to be and who you really are. Let me warn you, this is where most break. They taste power, but recoil. They glimpse their rage and bury it again. They start to rise, then run back to the comfort of being average. But not you. You're still here, and that means you're ready for what most can't stomach. So listen carefully. Because what I'm about to tell you is not motivational fluff. It's raw. It's ugly. But it's real, and it will arm you for the psychological battlefield ahead. There's a truth that will burn through every illusion you have about human nature. People don't want you to rise. They'll cheer for your glow-up until it outshines them. They'll support your dreams until it means they can't control you. They'll clap for your progress until your presence reminds them of everything they're not. You've seen it. You start changing your habits, speaking with more clarity, setting boundaries, and suddenly, friends get distant. Family throws guilt like knives. People say you've changed. Of course you did. You evolved. But here's what they'll never admit. Your evolution threatens their stagnation. So here's Shadow Secret #3. If you want to rise, prepare to be alone. There is no glory without isolation. There is no greatness without misunderstanding. And if you can't stomach rejection, silence, and betrayal, then you are not ready for power. Look at the great Steve Jobs was ousted from his own company. David Goggins ran through the jaws of hell alone. Even Nietzsche said it. He who climbs the highest mountains laughs at all tragedies, real or imagined. You must stop chasing belonging and start building inner loyalty. Let them misunderstand you. Let them whisper. Because one day, the same people who mocked you will use your name as a reference point for what's possible. But that only happens when you choose the furnace. When you say, burn it all down, my fears, my need for approval, my weakness, and forge me in fire. And when you walk out of that fire, nothing and no one owns you again. But there's another dark law you need to understand. Point 1 that runs even deeper. Because power isn't just about control, it's about understanding human nature at its darkest, and using that understanding to move through the world like a ghost through walls. Let me show you. You ever wonder why some people, even with less talent, rise faster? Why others, with all the skills, stay invisible? It's not about merit. It's about psychology. They've learned to read people. To manipulate energy without touching it. To command without words. Shadow Secret #4. You must master emotional camouflage. Humans are not rational creatures. We're tribal, reactive, easily triggered. So if you walk into a room blazing with your truth, people won't listen. They'll get defensive. They'll push back. Not because you're wrong, but because you're unfiltered. But if you walk in like a strategist, if you study their fears, their biases, their blind spots, and speak directly to that, they'll follow you without knowing why. You can dominate any room if you learn this. Mirror their tone. Echo their values. Then, plant your ideas like seeds in the soil of their desires. This isn't manipulation, it's precision. Because to move powerfully in this world, you must learn to bend the social fabric to your will. Not by screaming, but by whispering in a language they can't resist. You see, a true master doesn't show force. They become the environment. They shape reality with presence, not pressure. So what does that look like in real life? It looks like the entrepreneur who listens more than he speaks and walks away with the investor's full attention. It looks like the woman who enters the meeting room, says little, but everything bends around her calm, focused energy. It looks like you no longer proving anything, because you've already won internally. That's the dark beauty of emotional camouflage. When you stop needing to be seen, you begin to see everything. Now tell me, what happens when the mask is no longer a mask? When the control is no longer effort but essence? When the shadow becomes your ally, not your enemy? Good, because that means you're ready for transformation. The kind that makes people stop and ask, what happened to you? And the only answer is, you met your darkness, and you didn't flinch. By now, something in you has already shifted. The old mask has cracked. The timid voice in your head is fading. You've begun to realize, the person you thought you were, was never you. It was a version sculpted by fear, by politeness, by survival, but now you see it for what it was. A costume, and you've outgrown it. This is where most people retreat, because beyond this point, there's no turning back. Once you taste power without guilt, once you realize your anger has a purpose, once your pain becomes fuel, not a wound, you stop being a victim. You become the strategist. But to stay there, you must internalize one final, brutal truth. Shadow Secret #5. Your greatest power is born from your deepest wound. That scar on your soul, the betrayal that still haunts you, the shame you buried so deep no one sees it. That's not your curse, it's your forge. The world teaches you to hide your pain to smile through to numb it with distractions and dopamine. But the shadow teaches you something sacred. What you run from owns you, what you face fuels you. Think of the greatest leaders, creators, disruptors. Their drive didn't come from peace, it came from fire. Michael Jordan was cut from his high school team and built a career off that sting. Oprah was abused and silenced as a girl and built a platform where no voice goes unheard. Genghis Khan watched his family get slaughtered and carved an empire out of vengeance and strategy. They didn't heal and move on. They channeled. That's the difference between therapy and transformation. Therapy helps you cope. The shadow trains you to conquer. So ask yourself, what wound are you hiding? What pain are you afraid to look at? Because you know it could break you. Now ask this, what if that pain was never meant to break you? What if it's your origin story? You think you need motivation. You don't. You need to meet the version of you that was born in the fire, the version that never got to speak. Because when you finally face that part of you, the angry one, the grieving one, the one who wanted to scream but stayed silent, you don't just heal, you integrate. And in that moment, you stop living in reaction, you start moving with design. No more proving, no more explaining. Just execution. You've now stepped beyond the superficial world of positive thinking and be your best self. That's cute. That's for the surface. You're not here for cute. You're here for command. And the final stage of this transformation is when the war inside you ends. When the light and dark shake hands. When the inner child and inner warrior walk together. When discipline meets desire. When rage fuels purpose, not destruction. That's when your life changes. Not by accident. Not by luck, but by force of will. You're no longer apologizing. You're no longer asking. You're no longer confused. You are aligned. You are clear. You are lethal. And no, that doesn't mean you're cold. It means you've become precise. It means your love has boundaries. It means your time has value. It means your silence carries weight. From here on out, you don't waste energy on people who can't meet you where you are. You don't explain your standards, you enforce them. You don't chase anything, you attract with gravity. Because when you master your shadow, you master your life. Now pause, breathe, because what comes next is the rebirth. Not as someone new, but as the real you, the one who was buried beneath shame, silence, and self-doubt. You're not a project, you're a weapon, sharpened by truth, tempered by pain, and now unleashed by choice. Look at you, still standing, still listening, still burning, but now, with control. You've crossed through the fire, not as a victim, not as a survivor, but as the one who now holds the match. The world will never see you the same again, and more importantly, you will never see yourself the same again. You've shed the skin of who they told you to be. You've shattered the mirror they built to keep you small, and in its place, you've built something far more dangerous, self-mastery. And that is the greatest rebellion. Because in a world that feeds off weakness, where attention is sold, identity is hijacked, where distraction is currency and obedience is rewarded, you didn't conform. You transformed, and that transformation didn't come through light alone. It came through blood, through the honesty of your own inner chaos, through the courage to look at your darkness and say, you don't scare me anymore. That's what most people will never understand. They'll keep chasing quick fixes, 5-step hacks, high vibrations. But you learned the forbidden language of the soul, the ancient truth they buried under comfort and compliance. The path to power is not in denying your shadow, it's in wielding it. Not recklessly, not cruelly, but with ruthless awareness. You are no longer a storm begging for shelter. You are the one who commands the weather. You are no longer the prey, scanning for threats. You are the Predator, calm, still, unreadable. You are no longer the echo of other people's expectations. You are the voice that redefines the room, and what's wild is how quietly this power moves. You won't need to raise your voice. You won't need to argue. Your energy will speak long before your words do. People will feel the shift. They'll sense something in you they can't explain. Some will admire it. Some will fear it. Some will try to break it. But none will forget it. And now the final revelation. The one you've been walking toward since the very first word of the script. Are you ready? The shadow was never your enemy. It was your inheritance. The part of you that refused to die when the world tried to silence you. The side of you that held the rage, the fire, the truth while your surface played nice. And now you've done what few ever do. You made peace with that power. You learned to carry the storm without drowning in it. You turned your inner chaos into clarity. This is your throne. Not one built by birthright. Not one handed to you by the world. But one carved in silence, in solitude, in self-ownership. So the next time someone asks, "What happened to you?" you look them in the eye and say, "I stopped running from myself. I met my shadow, and I didn't flinch." And from that moment on, the game changes. Because kings don't beg, generals don't explain, strategists don't show all their weapons. They move, deliberately, powerfully, unapologetically, like you will. Now, if this hit something deep inside you, if you felt your blood rise and your soul sharpen, then don't disappear back into comfort. Speak. Let it be known you're done playing small. Comment below. Tell me what truth hit you hardest. Like this video if you felt the shift. Subscribe, because this is just the beginning of a darker, higher evolution. And whatever you do, do not forget this moment. Because this wasn't a YouTube video. This was a ritual. You didn't just listen, you remembered. And the version of you that just awakened, it doesn't go back to sleep. Welcome to the shadows, King. Your move,